unfortunately, the last the last video, my voice pitch was too high. Like, my microphone glitches sometimes where it was 20 minutes worth of material. Anyways, today we're looking at the ICD-11 bipolar disorders, the criteria, the diagnostic features, things like that. And as a patient, I'm going to be giving my analysis on how good these tools are for diagnosing. So, some backstory: I had a bipolar diagnosis in May of last year, bipolar 1, and I've had many episodes: hypomanic, manic, mixed, and depressive. So I just wanted to give my thoughts as to what these ICD-11, the new ICD-11, what I think of their classifications. So let's start off with bipolar type 1. So it is an episodic mood disorder defined by the occurrence of one or more manic or mixed episodes. A manic episode is an extreme mood state lasting at least 1 week, unless shortened by treatment intervention, which I think is good because I think that if patients have a manic episode with psychotic symptoms lasting 3 or 4 days before they get treated, then it should be enough to be diagnosed with bipolar type 1. Unless characterized by euphoria, irritability, or expansiveness, and by increased activity or a subjective experience of increased energy accompanied by other characteristic symptoms such as rapid or pressured speech, flight of ideas, increased self-esteem or grandiosity, increased self-esteem, decreased need for sleep, distractibility, impulsive or reckless behavior, and rapid changes along different mood states. A mixed episode is characterized by the presence of several prominent manic and several depressive episodes consistent with those observed in manic and depressive episodes, which either occur simultaneously or alternate very rapidly. Symptoms must include an altered mood state consistent with a manic or depressive episode and be present for most of the day, nearly every day, during a period of at least 2 weeks. This is for mixed episodes, unless shortened by treatment intervention. Although the diagnosis can be made on an evidence of a single manic or mixed episode, typically manic or mixed episodes alternate with depressive episodes over the course of the disorder. So there are some course presentation specifiers, like with prominent anxiety symptoms, with panic attacks, current depressive episode, with melancholia, yeah. So some course features, additional clinical features. In combination with one or more depressive and mixed or hypomanic episode during antidepressant treatment is grounds for diagnosis of bipolar type 1 if the syndrome persists after treatment is discontinued and the full diagnostic requirements of the mood episode are met after the direct physiological effects of the treatment have likely been receded. Inter-episodes may be characterized by complete remission or symptoms, or by the complete suicide risk is higher among individuals diagnosed with bipolar type 1 among the general population, particularly during manic or depressive or mixed episodes, and among individuals with rapid cycling. I used to have rapid cycling before I had a diagnosis, or before I had necessary treatment. I used to have rapid cycling. Recurrent panic attacks in bipolar type 1 may indicate greater severity, poor response to treatment, and greater risk for suicide. Family history is an important factor to consider because the heritability of bipolar disorders is the highest of all mental disorders. I may have a mother who has bipolar disorder, but I'm not for sure. She has depression for sure. Individuals initially diagnosed with bipolar type 2 disorder are at a higher risk of experiencing a manic or mixed episode. If this occurs, the diagnosis should be changed to bipolar type 1. Patients diagnosed with bipolar type 1 are elevated risk for developing a variety of medical conditions affecting the cardiovascular system. Holy shit, man. Oh, that's scary. That is scary, some of which may be due to the effects of chronic use of medications used to treat bipolar. Oh, no. No. Oh, no. Oh, man. Why does this disorder suck so bad? Individuals with bipolar type 1 exhibit high rates of co-occurring mental, behavioral, mental, most commonly anxiety or fear-related disorders. I have both. I have a deathly fear of wasps, which is a phobia, and I have very bad anxiety in school and stuff. But I still get it done. I mean, next year I'm going to college. I'm doing calculus. I'm doing programming for meteorology. I'm doing chemistry. I mean, I got through college physics and advanced pre-calc this year. Although the onset of a first manic, depressive, or hypomanic, hypomanic, or depressive episode most often occurs during the late teen years, the onset of bipolar type 1 disorder can occur at any time through the life cycle, including in older adulthood. Late onset mood symptoms may be more likely to be caused by effects of medications or substances or other medical conditions. The majority of individuals who experience a single manic episode will go on to develop recurrent mood episodes. More than half of manic episodes will be immediately followed by a depressive episode. I can tell you that this is true. I don't think the only manic episode that I haven't had a depressive episode after was September, and that was my worst manic episode by far. But all the other kind of hypomanic episodes that I've had have resulted in depressive episodes. So there is truth to that. But I wouldn't say that every single one is followed by a depressive episode. Like I had a psychotic features one in September. One with psychotic features that lasted about a week, and there were no depressive episodes after that. The reoccurrence of mood episodes in bipolar 1 increases with the number of prior mood episodes. I've had like 5 or 6. Yikes. Okay, individuals with bipolar type 1 are an increased lifetime risk of suicidality. Yeah, I know. You can also just have really bad mental breakdowns. And I think that's just a thing what we missed is like, you know, the people with these disorders, they can also just have really bad mental breakdowns. Like, oh man, I get some over online shit that doesn't matter. Like, oh, by the way, that last video was all a joke, by the way. Like, not a joke. The person who accused me of being weird for playing with that kid on Roblox was joking and apologized to me. So it's all good. I mean, and there were people defending me, so, yeah. Moving on to bipolar type 2. I know one of my viewers thinks that they have bipolar type 2. Okay. Bipolar type 2 is an episodic mood disorder defined by occurrence of one or more hypomanic episodes and at least one depressive episode. A hypomanic episode is a persistent mood state lasting for at least several days. So it's not 4 days like the DSM-5 criteria says that the hypomanic episode has to last for at least 4 days. But with this, it's just several days. So I think this gives some flexibility for those that have it, you know, maybe 3 days. Maybe they have it 3 days. Well, that's several days. They're close enough to meet the criteria for a hypomanic episode, in my opinion. Characterized by a persistent elevation of mood or increased irritability, as well as increased activity or a subjective experience of increased energy accompanied by other characteristic symptoms such as increased talkativeness, rapid erasing thoughts, increased self-esteem, decreased need for sleep, distractibility, and impulsive or reckless behavior. The symptoms represent a change from the individual's typical mood or energy level and behavior, but are not severe enough to cause marked impairment in functioning. A depressive episode is characterized by a period of depressed mood or diminishing interest in activities occurring most of the day, nearly every day, during a period lasting at least 2 weeks, accompanied by other symptoms such as changes in sleep, appetite, psychomotor agitation or retardation, fatigue, feelings of worthlessness or excessive and inappropriate guilt, feelings of hopelessness, difficulty concentrating, and suicidality. There is no history of manic or mixed episodes. So if you have a mixed episode that lasts at least 1 week, and it's like the manic side is like at a hypomanic level, like it doesn't cause as many problems as a manic episode was, it doesn't matter. If it were a hypomanic level, like the manic side was only a few manic episodes that were mild to moderate, right? And you had depressive episodes that lasted at least 2 weeks, it doesn't matter. That is bipolar type 1 disorder now, according to the ICD-11. You cannot have a mixed episode if you have bipolar type 2 disorder. According to this, I think the DSM-5 differs. I do believe that this is kind of a mistake, that I think that bipolar type 2 people can probably have a mixed episode of hypomania and depression without fully ever going across that manic line. But according to the ICD-11, if you have a mixed episode, it lasts 2 weeks, then you are in the bipolar 1 camp. There is a fly that is flying everywhere. Okay, so you have your symptomatic course presentation specifiers. Prominent anxiety symptoms, panic attacks, current depressive episodes. Yeah, with rapid cycling. With seasonal pattern. Yeah. In a combination with additional clinical features, in combination with a history of 1 or more depressive episodes, a hypomanic episode arising during antidepressant treatment is grounds for diagnosis of bipolar type 2 if the syndrome persists after the treatment is discontinued and full diagnostic requirements of the mood episode are met after the direct physiological effects of the treatment are likely to have been receded. Inter-episode periods may be characterized by complete remission or symptoms by the presence of residual hypomanic, manic, mixed, or depressive symptoms, in which the partial remission specifier should be. Suicide risk is significantly higher among individuals with bipolar type 2 than among the general population, particularly during depressed episodes and among individuals with rapid cycling. Recurrent panic attacks. Yeah. When individuals with bipolar type 2 seek clinical services, they almost invariably do so during the depressive episodes. Yeah, because hypomanic episodes don't really cause problems. Family history, yeah. Individuals initially diagnosed with bipolar type 2 are at a high risk of experiencing a manic or mixed episodes. If this occurs, the diagnosis should be changed to bipolar type 1. Patients diagnosed with bipolar type, yeah, we get that. Yeah. Course features. Bipolar type 2 has its onset most often during the mid-20s. However, onset during late adolescence and through early and mid-adulthood may also occur. Initial onset of bipolar type 2 in older adults is rare. While onset typically begins following a single depressive episode, some individuals experience depressive episodes before occurrence, several for a hypomanic episode. So what they're saying is the majority of the time with bipolar type 2, you will be depressed, which is true. I've seen that. The presence of chronic and gradually worsening experiences of affective liability, particularly during or mood swings, particularly during adolescence and early adulthood, has been associated with an increased risk of developing bipolar type 2 disorder. Up to 15% of bipolar type 2 disorder will subsequently develop a manic episode, resulting in a change to diagnosis to bipolar type 1 disorder. Spontaneous intra-episode shifts from a depressive episode to hypomanic episode are not uncommon. Risk of recurrence increases with each subsequent episode. Our last one, cyclothymic disorder. You have your other and unspecified bipolar disorders for those that don't meet the normal criteria, but they still have bipolar disorder. Characterized by a persistent instability or mood of a period of at least 2 years involving numerous periods of hypomanic, example given euphoria, irritability, or expansiveness, psychomotor activation, and depressive, feeling down, diminished interest in activities, fatigue. Symptoms, get out of here, fly, that are present during more of the time than not for at least 2 years. The hypomanic symptomology may or may not be sufficiently severe or prolonged to meet the full definition requirements of a hypomanic episode, but there is no history of manic or mixed episodes. None. The depressive symptomology has never been sufficiently severe or prolonged to meet the diagnostic requirements for a depressive episode. Yeah, because if you had a depressive episode for 2 weeks or more, you would get either major depressive disorder or you would have bipolar type 2, because bipolar type 1 doesn't use depressive features in order to classify. The symptoms result in significant distress or significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. Mood instability over an extended period of time, 2 years, characterized by numerous hypomanic depressive episodes. Depressed episode can manifest as pervasive irritability. Hypomanic episodes may or may not have been sufficiently severe or prolonged to meet the diagnostic requirement. No history of manic or mixed episodes. Mood symptoms are present more day than not. Brief symptom intervals are consistent with the diagnosis. There have never been prolonged symptom-free periods lasting 2 months or more since the onset of disorder. You can't meet a depressive episode. Yeah, I think we basically went over these. So that's all. So I guess this is my take on the bipolar disorders. I think that they've done a pretty good job, but I do think that the bipolar type 2 should be able to, I think a mixed episode should be possible in a bipolar type 2, but I guess they don't. I just think that you can have a hypomanic and depressive mix without ever going into full mania, which is grounds for bipolar type 1. At least the DSM-5, I think, says that. So, or maybe I'm wrong, but anyways, that's all. See ya.